and yeah, enjoy the bike. Who used quick shift then? For the first time? Who's new to quick shift? Anyone? Did it work well for you? Yeah. Upshifts and downshifts. Usually it's a highlight of the test ride, I reckon. Feels very sporty, MotoGP. So the first demonstration is going to be Sean accelerating down to this point, and he's going to do an emergency brake. So you guys at the back definitely come towards the edge. And an emergency brake is hopefully not how you are riding up the hill. He's going to go from aggressive throttle to 100% front and rear brake together, and we'll let the bike's technology take over from there. So this is going to be road mode, emergency brake. There's either a blockage on the road or wildlife or a problem. So accelerating hard, and then bam. So the bike pulls up without even a wiggle. So what's going on there is, if we walked down and had a look at the road, there'd be a nice long black line. Not from a skid, but from the tyre doing its best. That's nice, dry, grippy bitumen. In the wet, in rain or road mode, it would be just as stable, but brake a little bit further because the grip's not as strong. If there was diesel or a manhole cover, wet, problem, stability would remain the same. On the bikes over 1,000 cc's, the dynamic ABS Pro actually has lean angle dynamics in it as well. So if you're braking and turning, the brake pressure is modulated based on lean angle. So on the bitumen, you've got a lot of security in your braking. So definitely use your brakes if you have to. Don't be scared. If you don't pull on the brakes hard enough, you're not going to slow down. If you pull them on hard, you'll get a great result. We'll just walk over here and watch what's happening next. We'll get on the other side of the bike. This demo is going to be a strong acceleration. He's going to hit the brakes near where that mark debris is on the bitumen. Same thing, hit the brakes very hard, and he's going to hold that hard brake pressure onto the dirt. So this just shows how the brakes compensate for changes in grip. Okay, so the stability should be high. Still in a road setting at the moment. Comes in strong, hits the brakes. So the brakes were pulled to the handlebar at the point where they went from bitumen to dirt. So it didn't affect the stability, but the acceleration was strong while he was on the bitumen and not as strong on the dirt, obviously, because it's not as much grip. Just think about the road ABS settings. They're designed to detect slip, and when they detect slip, it releases the brake pressure. So on the gravel surface in a road setting, you're not getting exceptional braking performance because the brakes are releasing so much. You still have stability, but you don't brake that well. When we come down here on the gravel, he's changed it to enduro mode. Now the ABS system's calibrated for a looser surface. So when the brakes squeeze, sense a little bit of slip, they don't immediately release. They let the tyre bite into the ground before they release. So the braking effect on gravel this is pretty mind-blowing when you do it yourself. Come down fast, it's a very loose, dry surface, hit the brakes. So that is a super dry, loose surface, right? So he's come down 70, 80, whatever it was. You can sort of see back there, the shadows obscuring it, but there's a very faint skid line. But the tyre was never locked. That was front and back. If you wanted to sort of imagine, at this certain point here, the bike's doing 25 kilometers an hour, the wheels are doing 20. So that's slowing the bike down much more effectively now that we've got enduro ABS. Stability's high. If the camber was more aggressive, there's other situations where the bike might wander a bit, but it never does the, no ABS. Who's crashed from too much front brake before on a bicycle, a mountain bike, a road bike, a dirt bike? The feeling of too much front brake and you're on the ground before you know it. The enduro ABS, it's mind-blowing. And we do demos of when we're out riding. We'll come down that hill doing 140 and grab the brakes as hard as we can with a progressive squeeze, and the forces needed to hold your body weight from collapsing on the handlebars, it doesn't make sense that that bike with those tyres can pull up like it does on the gravel. So again, just good to test, maybe not now at 140, but you know, on your own bike at your own time, understand what your bike's capable of, because that helps you when you're out in different situations. Then the next setting is Enduro Pro. Does anyone know the main difference of Enduro Pro?
It's programmable Enduro. Programmable, we can tweak.
That's true. What about the effect? What's the main difference in riding?
You can,
You can lock the back brake.
Traction.
No, the braking side of things, you can actually lock the back brake. So we'll watch in Enduro Pro, a better off-road rider might use the back brake to steer the bike, maneuver the bike. At higher speed, you might use the technique of rear brake to back it into a corner, which isn't a lock-up, but it allows you to do it. In the past, ABS wouldn't have let you do this sort of stuff. But ever since we got Enduro Pro in 2013, that was the line in the sand where the technology just went, like from road ABS that we would switch off on the dirt, to having this system that gives you all of the features for road, for dirt, for advanced riders. Enduro Pros are great, advanced off-road riders. But if you're not high-level off-road rider, Enduro mode's really good because it masks bad braking with the foot, with the rear brake. So definitely don't go to Enduro Pro if you don't have much off-road experience. So that is the braking package. Yeah, on the big bikes they're linked. So partially integrated front to back. Very subtle and very effective. For the people that don't use their rear brake at all, they're getting a little bit of rear brake going on.
These are like no ABS on Enduro Pro?
There's ABS on the front wheel,
Not on the
not on the back, so you can lock it up. So that's the braking package.
Excuse me, how about the brake distribution in Enduro?
Yeah, in Enduro mode you're getting partially integrated brakes is happening on the road. On the dirt in Enduro mode there's partial integration on the bigger bikes.
Yeah.
Very subtle, you don't notice it's happening. So really you ride like you would normally ride. You don't make any changes based on the fact that the brakes are partially integrated, front to back, off-road. So now the story goes to traction control. Come in a bit if it's a bit windy, it's a bit hard to get the voice going. So ABS is brakes, that's clear. Traction control is throttle to the back wheel. So if you have too much power on a loose surface, what can happen? High side or low side, or a general loss of control. So what we've got to demo here is the bike's in rain mode and he's going to give it full throttle. Pretty aggressive. And imagine if you were riding on wet bitumen. Who's nervous riding on wet bitumen? At night, overtaking a truck in rain. Yeah, it's a bit sketchy. So watch what happens when he gives it full throttle in rain mode, how the traction control handles it. Even with a little bit of a turn and a little bit of camber, in a straight line, full throttle, and the bike does not get taily. So that, when you do this for the first time on your bike, on a bit of grass or on a bit of gravel, it gives you a huge level of confidence riding on wet bitumen. Where in the past, some people figure it's a bit of a lottery that your tyres might not, the front might get overtaken by the back. So rain mode gives you an incredible sensitivity. We can ride on a S1000RR on tram tracks in Melbourne in the rain and give it full berries with 200 horsepower and the bike doesn't wiggle. So that's a high level of security. So now we go to an enduro mode where the traction control's calibrated for gravel, and we'll just see. This is where you've got to be careful because the bike is not uncrashable. As soon as you're allowed to slide with a bit of throttle steering, it's up to the rider to pick the right surface, the right camber, and give the right input. Otherwise the bike can spin around. So the moral of the story isn't that these bikes are uncrashable. It's just the technology's there to help you. But as soon as you want to slide a bike, that means the safety is being reduced, the freedom goes up. So throttle steering in enduro mode you know, we could all just ride up that road, even if you have no off-road experience, and feed the throttle on pretty hard in enduro mode, and nothing bad's going to happen. As soon as you start playing with angles and turns and gravel and wet surfaces, enduro mode is very crashable, but it's a huge safety net compared to having traction control off. Does that make sense? So yeah, at off-road training courses, we teach a lot of brake control, a lot of throttle exercises, clutch exercises. Who's done an off-road training course with us before? Good work. Who's coming on one this week? Yeah? We've got 2 at Broadford, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Sunday. So that'll be fun. We call that skid school. Sometimes we turn off these things and learn how to manage the bike. But understanding what mode to be in for your level, for the situation, the bike is not trying to penalise you for every little mistake. Yeah. So that's the ABS story. That's the traction control story. So coming up the road and on this road, you have to set your speed for the corners. You know, brakes and ABS help you set your speed for the corners. Traction control helps you exiting corners. What happens if you go into a slow corner fast?
You end up on the other side of the road.
You're either going to run straight or crash trying to turn. So there's no magic technology that helps you in a corner if you come in 10, 20, 50 kilometers too fast. So what I'm saying is, out here we've got different surfaces, different cambers, different corners. Just be chilled, set your speed before the corner, manage your line selection in the middle of the corner, and smooth on the gas out of the corner, and nothing bad will happen. Yesterday we had one minor drop where someone approached a corner faster than they felt comfortable. Maybe it got a bit tighter halfway around. They braked, they wobbled, and they just ended up in the ditch and dropped it. Nothing crazy, no bodies flying anywhere, but that can happen. And he probably wasn't even going too fast, but he thought he was, if that makes sense. So let's just keep it chilled. Who has little to no off-road experience? So we'll get you guys to hang at the back. You are free to leave it in road mode and manage that, because it'll give you a higher level of traction control support. But really, I have a lot of faith that if you go into enduro mode as an off-road newbie, the bike's going to look after you. So that's up to you. If you do go out there in road mode, on your next ride coming back, you can try enduro mode. So that's an option. So there's no pressure here. Unfortunately, it's very, very dry. Sometimes we have beautiful rain overnight, and this is damp, dust-free, and grippy. It actually gets slipperier the drier it is, and the dust is a real problem. So we're going to shorten the off-road section. The bitumen's amazing to ride at the moment. The dirt, not so much when you've got 20 people. So don't be going mad on the throttle, seeing what the traction control does for every section of the ride. Just have a feel of it and try to ride smooth. Leave a gap. The shadows, the light, the sun and the dust is a pretty bad combination. So we don't care if we have to wait out there a few minutes. It's better than having to pick bikes up. Overtaking, again, it's okay if it's safe. But let's say proper safe, not marginal safe. This is how I ride with my mates safe. This is about looking after each other. So if it really makes sense to overtake, do it, because there might be a very slow rider in front of you and it might be totally safe to overtake. Please use your indicator, because that'll let the riders behind know what your intention is, and just take it easy. Any questions?
Just need a little bit of a hand. Selecting Enduro Pro mode and things like that.
Yeah, okay. So we won't be selecting Enduro Pro mode, because we've pretty much got most of the bikes set up for rain, road and Enduro. Okay. And the mode button is on the right hand switch block. It says mode. Press sequentially and you'll get rain, road, dynamic, Enduro, etc. So that's how you do it. And the setting will change while you're stationary. You can actually do it when you're riding as well, but there's an extra step in the process. Has anyone seen the video that I did on the 1250 electronics for BMW Australia called BMW GS Features? Yeah, it's still relevant for lots of new models, and it goes into ABS, traction control, riding modes, when to change it, how to change it, and it's in chapters. So if you're interested, because because they are complex, but they're intuitive. So once you get the gist of it, it all makes sense. But yeah, sometimes you just got to get the gist of it. Cool. So we'll go to our bikes, get ready. If you're feeling chilled and nervous, just stay put, wait towards the back. I'll pull over to the left and we'll take off in a few minutes.